There comes a moment when a Sigma Empath stops trying to fix, prove, or explain and chooses peace instead. It's not indifference, it's evolution. After giving everything, their time, energy, and forgiveness, they realize that peace isn't the absence of love, it's the presence of self-respect. They stop chasing closure from people who were never capable of depth. They stop explaining their heart to those who only listened to take advantage. And in that silence, their energy changes. Their absence becomes louder than their presence ever was. Because when a Sigma Empath finally chooses peace over people, it's not revenge, it's transformation. The same calm they once gave to heal others now becomes the power that rebuilds them. If you've ever had to walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally cared about yourself more, this video is for you. Subscribe for more powerful insights on emotional strength, healing, and transformation. And tell me in the comments, have you ever reached that point where peace felt better than being understood? They stop pouring energy into unwilling hearts and save it for themselves. There comes a moment when a Sigma Empath realizes that love without reciprocity is just slow self-destruction. For so long, they've poured empathy into people who never intended to grow, hoping that their light could heal someone committed to their own darkness. They gave without limit, listened without rest, and carried emotions that were never theirs to hold. But one day, something changes. It's not a dramatic explosion, it's quiet, peaceful. They simply stop trying to prove their worth through effort that no one values. Instead of asking, why don't they see my heart? They start asking, why am I giving it to someone who doesn't care? That shift from external validation to internal clarity marks the rebirth of a Sigma Empath strength. They no longer chase understanding from those addicted to chaos. They begin to protect their time, their emotions, and their energy like sacred resources. The world calls it coldness. It's not. It's wisdom earned from pain. Because when a Sigma Empath stops pouring into unwilling hearts, they don't become less loving, they become more discerning. And that's when their peace finally becomes their power. They make boundaries non-negotiable, no explanations, no exceptions. At some point, the Sigma Empath realizes that boundaries are not requests, they're self-respect in action. For most of their life, they've bent their limits to make others comfortable, explaining every no, softening every truth, trying to keep the peace at their own expense. But one day, something inside them clicks. They finally see that every time they over-explained, they were teaching people that their limits were flexible, that their kindness was negotiable, that their empathy was for sale. So they stop apologizing for protecting their peace. They stop giving second, third, and fourth chances to those who only came back to test their patience. Now their boundaries are quiet, firm, and absolute, not born from bitterness, but from clarity. They no longer explain why they pull away, why they stopped responding, or why they said no. They simply act. Because they've learned that genuine people never need long explanations, only manipulators demand them. When a Sigma Empath sets boundaries and refuses to justify them, it shocks everyone who once depended on their softness. But what outsiders call change is really self-preservation. It's the moment they stop managing other people's emotions and start protecting their own energy. Their peace stops being negotiable, and that's when their true power begins. They withdraw access quietly. Their presence becomes the scarcity. When a Sigma Empath starts to pull away, there's no announcement, no dramatic goodbye, just quiet distance that speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. For years, their energy was easily accessible, always the one to check in first, to forgive first, to care even when it wasn't returned. But something shifts when they realize how many people took that access for granted. They start to understand that their time, attention, and emotional presence are privileges, not entitlement. So they begin to retreat, calmly and intentionally. Messages go unanswered, not out of spite, but self-protection. Invitations are declined without guilt. Conversations that used to drain them are replaced with silence that heals them. And the people who once relied on their endless empathy suddenly feel the void. They start to notice that the room feels colder without the Sigma Empath's warmth, that the conversations feel emptier without their insight. This withdrawal isn't punishment, it's preservation. It's the empath reclaiming control by choosing where their energy flows. The Sigma doesn't seek revenge or validation, they simply stop showing up where they're unseen. And that absence, that sudden silence, becomes their most powerful statement. Because when a Sigma empath disappears from your life, you don't just lose their presence, you lose the peace, understanding, and light that came with it, and nothing feels the same again. They use calm as a mirror. Others see what they've been hiding. When a Sigma empath reaches the point of emotional mastery, their calmness becomes more than peace. It becomes a mirror. In that stillness, people start to see themselves clearly, sometimes for the first time. The empath no longer argues, no longer explains, no longer tries to make others understand. They just remain centered, and that composure quietly exposes what chaos has tried to conceal. Manipulators, narcissists, and emotional takers thrive in noise, arguments, confusion, guilt, and drama. But when the Sigma empath responds with silence and neutrality, that entire system collapses. The calm presence forces others to confront their reflection, the lies they told, the manipulation they used, the control they thought they had. Suddenly, they can't project their pain onto the empath anymore, because there's no reaction to feed it. This is the silent form of power. Their peace disarms aggression. Their composure reveals insecurity. Their stillness exposes dishonesty. And while others scramble to regain control, the empath doesn't move. They observe. They understand that the truth doesn't need defense. It simply needs space to be seen. So they let others reveal themselves in the silence. No confrontation, no revenge, just emotional clarity. Because when a Sigma empath becomes calm, it doesn't mean they've surrendered. It means they've evolved. And their peace becomes the most honest reflection anyone will ever face. They turn compassion into selective armor, kindness with conditions. The Sigma empaths are naturally giving souls. They spent years believing that compassion means endless forgiveness, patience, and understanding. But eventually they learn the hardest truth of all. Not everyone deserves the softness they carry. Their empathy, once unconditional, becomes intentional. They stop pouring kindness into people who only take and never give. Instead, they build an invisible filter, one that separates those who value their heart from those who exploit it. This shift isn't bitterness, it's wisdom. They realize compassion without boundaries becomes self-destruction. So now, their kindness has conditions. Not out of cruelty, but self-respect. They help when it's deserved, listen when it's mutual, and care when it's safe. They're still warm, but no longer naive. Their heart remains open, but guarded by discernment. Because they finally understand that empathy should flow like energy, not drain like sacrifice. To the outside world, their new calm can seem distant, as if they've grown colder. But beneath that composure lies a refined strength. They still feel deeply, but they no longer hand that power to just anyone. Their compassion is now a shield, not a weakness. Kindness that protects rather than pleases. And that's when they become unstoppable. A soul that loves with awareness, gives with wisdom, and protects their peace like sacred ground. They reinvest their time into growth. Solitude becomes their laboratory. When a Sigma empath finally steps back from emotional chaos, their solitude stops feeling like loneliness. It becomes their laboratory. For the first time in a long while, they aren't spending energy fixing, explaining, or healing others. That same energy is redirected inward into building, learning, evolving. Every quiet hour becomes an investment, every peaceful day a form of self-reconstruction. They begin to study themselves the way they once studied others, their habits, triggers, strengths, and patterns. Instead of seeking validation, they seek clarity. Instead of chasing connection, they chase mastery. The solitude that once felt like exile now feels like freedom. It's where they rediscover their purpose, sharpen their intuition, and reconnect with the parts of themselves that were buried under people-pleasing. During this transformation, the Sigma empath realizes something powerful. They were never broken, they were just distracted. By removing the noise, they uncover focus. By letting go of toxic attachments, they find discipline. And with each passing day, they become more emotionally self-sufficient, mentally sharper, and spiritually grounded. Their isolation isn't an escape, it's elevation. While others are busy performing for attention, The Sigma Empath is quietly reinventing themselves, turning pain into perspective, stillness into strength. So when they finally step out of solitude, they don't come back the same. They return wiser, calmer, and far beyond the reach of anything that once drained them. They let silence teach, absence reveals who deserves return. A Sigma Empath eventually learns that silence teaches louder lessons than words ever could. When they stop explaining, stop fixing, and simply step back, something fascinating happens. The truth reveals itself. People show their real colors not when you're present, but when you're gone. The Sigma Empath's absence becomes a test that requires no effort, only distance. Those who truly care will notice the silence and approach with humility. They'll reflect, apologize, or simply value what they once took for granted. But those who were only there for control or convenience, they'll vanish or play the victim, exposing exactly why the empath's absence was necessary in the first place. The Sigma Empath doesn't use silence as punishment, it's awareness. They understand that stepping back creates space for authenticity to surface. They no longer chase understanding or force reconciliation. Instead, they allow absence to filter out noise, leaving only those who align with peace. And in that quiet distance, the Sigma Empath gains perspective. They realize who truly respected their energy and who only depended on it. They learn that some relationships aren't lost, they're revealed. Because when an empath finally chooses silence, it's not rejection, it's discernment. And that calm withdrawal speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. They return as peace. Their success, not drama, is the final reply. When a Sigma Empath returns after choosing peace, they no longer seek closure, they become it. There's no confrontation, no need to prove a point, no interest in revisiting old wounds. Their calm presence says everything words never could. The same people who once underestimated their silence now realize it was never weakness, it was preparation. Instead of revenge, they build a life that speaks louder than explanations. Their success becomes the quiet echo of everything they endured. Every boundary they set, every moment they chose solitude, now manifests as strength, clarity, and unshakable self-respect. The Sigma Empath's energy shifts from survival to creation, and that's when everything changes. They no longer chase recognition or validation, they embody purpose, their peace, their growth, their quiet glow. That's the real comeback. It's not dramatic, but it's undeniable. The ones who tried to control them now see what true freedom looks like: calm, grounded, and completely untouchable. In the end, the Sigma Empath doesn't return to prove anyone wrong. They return to prove themselves right. Their life becomes the statement, their serenity, the message. And that's the ultimate revenge. Not noise, not anger, but peace. So radiant it leaves no doubt. They've outgrown the storm that once tried to drown them. When a Sigma Empath chooses peace over people, it isn't about giving up, it's about leveling up. They stop chasing closure, stop explaining, and start living in alignment with their truth. Their calm is not weakness, it's power. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's healing. If this message resonates with you, remember, peace is your ultimate comeback. You don't owe anyone your energy, only yourself your growth. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever chosen peace over people and realized it changed everything? Share your story in the comments below. And if you felt this, subscribe to Brainy Empath, where we turn emotional depth into strength, wisdom, and power.